Tonight, you will fall asleep without a second thought. The world will still be here when you wake. You are so certain of this that you have never once had to decide it. It is the quietest assumption you carry, that the sun will rise, that the cities will stand, that the ordinary machinery of the world will keep turning while you dream. But the real answer is far stranger, because there was a night when all of it came down to one man, one tired officer, one screen glowing in a concrete room buried beneath the earth, and a question no single human being should ever have to answer alone. His name was Stanislav Petrov. You have almost certainly never heard it. There are no statues of him in the city where you live. No holiday carries his name. And yet, if you follow the thin thread of luck that connects your life to his, you arrive at a single moment in the dark. A moment where the future of nearly everyone alive balanced on what one man chose to believe. Let me take you there. It is just past midnight on the 26th of September, 1983. You are sitting in a secret bunker called Serpukhov 15, south of Moscow. Around you, banks of screens hum in the low light. Your job is simple to describe and impossible to imagine. You watch the sky for the end of the world. The year matters here, because 1983 was not an ordinary year. The two most powerful nations on Earth were locked in a staring contest, and the whole planet was the prize. Only weeks earlier, Soviet fighters had shot down a Korean passenger plane, killing everyone aboard. Trust between the superpowers had collapsed to almost nothing. In Moscow, the aging leader Yuri Andropov was convinced, genuinely, deeply convinced, that the other side was preparing a surprise nuclear strike. His intelligence services had been ordered to look for the signs of it, and when you order people to find a threat, they tend to find one. Fear had become the air everyone breathed, and into that air, that night, the alarm screamed. At first, one word on the screen. Then the display resolved into something unthinkable. A missile had been launched from the United States, aimed at Soviet soil. The system that reported it was called Oko, the Russian word for the eye. A network of satellites built to catch an attack the instant it began. Hundreds of engineers had designed it. Thousands of hours had been poured into making it trustworthy. And now it was telling you, in bright hard letters, one thing. Launch. What would you do? Your training gives you an answer. The protocol is clear. You confirm the reading, you pick up the phone, and you pass the warning up the chain to your commanders. From there, the decision to retaliate would move very fast. Faster than any conversation, faster than any doubt. That is the entire purpose of the system. Speed. In a nuclear war, the side that hesitates is the side that dies. So the machine is shouting at you to act. But Petrov did not pick up the phone. He sat there. He waited. Something underneath his training refused to move. Not because the rules told him to wait, but because a quiet voice beneath the rules was asking a strange question. Why only one missile? Think about that question. It is the hinge the whole night turns on. If the most powerful country on Earth were truly launching a surprise attack, the very attack everyone feared, they would not send one missile. They would send hundreds all at once to overwhelm any chance of a response. One lonely missile made no sense. It was too small to be the end of the world and far too large to ignore. Then the screen changed again. Not one missile now. 5? 5, streaking toward him on the display. The alarm now at full volume. The officers around him waiting for his word. And every second he waited was a second stolen from the retaliation the protocol demanded. Here is where it helps to understand something about your own mind. For decades, psychologists have studied what happens when a person is handed a confident machine and told to trust it. The researcher Linda Skitka gave the pattern a name: automation bias. It is the very human tendency to switch off your own judgment the moment a computer offers you an answer. When a screen speaks with authority, most people stop arguing. They defer. The machine, after all, was built by experts. Who are you to doubt it? Petrov was drowning in exactly that pressure. The eye had spoken 5 times, and he doubted it anyway. There was a second escape open to him, and it was even more tempting than the first. He could have simply passed the warning along. He could have reported what the screen showed, truthfully, accurately, and let someone higher up carry the weight. Not my decision, I only relayed it. Psychologists have a name for that pull too. In the 1960s, the researchers John Darley and Bib Latane uncovered something unsettling about human beings. The more people who share a responsibility, the less any single person actually feels it. They called it the diffusion of responsibility. In a crowd, everyone quietly assumes someone else will act. And so, terribly often, no one does. Petrov was one man in a vast chain of command. He could have let the responsibility diffuse upward and gone home with a clean conscience. Instead, he did the opposite. He pulled the entire weight of the moment onto himself and held it there. He called his superiors, and he told them the system was malfunctioning, a false alarm. He said it out loud before he could possibly know it was true. Did he know? No. He guessed. Then came the worst part, the waiting. If he was wrong, the missiles were already falling. In 20 minutes or less, the first warheads would arrive, and his choice to stay silent would have cost his country its only chance to strike back. He sat in that chair and watched the clock, and waited to learn whether he had just made the largest mistake in human history. There is a myth we like to tell about moments like this, that the hero simply knows, that some clear inner certainty guides the right person to the right choice. But that is not what happened here. Petrov later said he felt as if he was sitting on a hot frying pan. He put his own odds at no better than a coin flip. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman spent his life studying how people decide under exactly this kind of uncertainty, how a fast, intuitive hunch runs quietly beneath our slow, reasoning mind, and how the two do not always agree. Petrov's hunch was built from small things. The number of missiles was wrong. The ground radar, which should have confirmed any genuine launch, saw nothing at all. The satellite system was new and had never fully earned his trust. None of it on its own was proof. All of it together was a feeling. He bet the world on that feeling. And the minutes passed, and nothing fell from the sky. He was right. There were no missiles. There had never been any missiles. Days later, investigators pieced together the truth, and it was almost absurd in its smallness. At that time of year, at that hour, sunlight had struck high-altitude clouds at a rare angle and bounced upward into the satellite's sensors. The eye had mistaken a glint of sunlight on cloud for the fire of a launch. A trick of light had nearly ended civilization. And one man, refusing to trust a machine, had stopped it. Now here is the part of this story that should stay with you. Petrov was not celebrated. There was no medal that night, no parade, no announcement. The incident was quietly classified and buried, because his correct decision was also technically a broken rule. And rewarding him would have meant admitting how close the entire system had come to catastrophe. So he went home. He told almost no one, not even his wife, for years. The man who may have saved more lives than anyone in history lived in an ordinary apartment, an ordinary retiree, unknown even to the neighbors passing him on the stairs. Does that unsettle you? It should, because it means the person who once held your future in his hands received nothing for it, and asked for nothing. He simply did the quietest, hardest thing a person can do. In a room built to make him obey, he thought for himself. And that is where this story stops being about 1983. You will never sit in that bunker. You will never watch that screen. But you live surrounded by systems that speak to you with total confidence. Apps, feeds, scores, alerts, voices that arrive with the authority of the machine and ask you to stop thinking and simply comply. Every day, in smaller ways, you face Petrov's question. Do you trust the screen? Or do you trust the quiet voice underneath it that says something here does not add up? Most of the time, the stakes are small, a number that feels wrong, a story that spreads a little too fast, a certainty handed to you a little too smoothly. But the muscle is the same muscle. The courage to doubt a confident machine is not a Cold War relic locked in the past. It is a skill your world will ask of you, again and again, for the rest of your life. Petrov had no special gift. He was not the smartest man in the military. He was simply a person who, in the loudest moment of his life, chose to listen to his own judgment over a screen that was screaming at him. And because he did, You exist to hear about it. You have that same choice, more often than you think. Stanislav Petrov died in 2017 in the same quiet way he had lived. Most of the world never learned his name. But you know it now. So tonight, when you fall asleep without a second thought, when you trust, as you always have, that the world will still be here in the morning, remember that your certainty was never as free as it felt. It was paid for once, in a concrete room in the dark, by one tired man who looked at the end of the world and quietly decided not to believe it.